One last thing we need to do in our login view controller. Remember, when you click login, there is nothing happening, so we don't give any notification to user that we are trying to do something, and then we just jump to our app. So what we want to do is show him some kind of loading bar or spinner that he knows that he's actually waiting for the application to log in. And in our login button pressed function, let's see if we are importing. Yes, we are importing progress AGT, and here I can say progress AGT. I will say show, and this will start the spinner. And once we are done with that, and if there are no errors and we want to go to our application, because here we are showing error, here we are showing error, this will be dismissed anyway. The only way we are not dismissing it is when we go to app. So instead of going straight to app, I am calling my progress AGT and ask it to dismiss whatever view it has. So let's try this one as well. I'm going to comment out this auto login one more time, just to see if this works properly before we are going to move forward and forget about this class. So iOS devschool@gmail.com. It's spinning, and voila, we are inside our application, which is super cool. This is what we wanted to do. So we are done with our login, and with our registration function, there is one thing we need to do. Remember this date thing? We want to choose a date of birth. We need some kind of picker, which would be very handy if we had a date picker, to be able to choose the date of user's date of birth. So let's create a date picker. This is going to be equals to UI date picker, and we are going to initialize this. And then we need to set up our date picker. So we want to tell it, we don't want the time of the day. We just want the month, day, year, because standard date picker has month, date, year, and then time and minutes, which we don't actually need this kind of details for user date of birth. So let's create a function that is going to do this nice setup of date of birth, this date picker. So I'm going to call this function in my view did load, and let's call this setup date picker. And this will throw me an error because this function doesn't actually exist. So let's go ahead and write this function. Let's go down. We have this setup background touch. So let's do with this one under our setup. Private func setup date picker. And first thing, we want to set the mode of our date picker. So we say date picker dot date picker mode is equals to dot date. So we have date and time, countdown, or date. We just want to choose a date. Then we want to add a target every time date picker value changes. So let's say the user is going to spin this date picker wheel. Once it stops, so the value change registers, we want to take that date from the date picker and put it in our date of birth text field. So let me just go here, open my storyboard, and this is our date of birth text field. So instead of keyboard, we're gonna get this spinner. We choose a date, it appears here, so our user actually can see what he chose. So yeah, let's go back to our registration, and here we're going to again access our date picker dot add target, and we have this target action. The target is going to be self, because this is the view the target is going to be, and the action will be the function that will be called every time a specific UI event happens. So the action is going to be dot selector, which is an C function, Objective-C function, and let's say handle date picker. And for this is UR control event. If you just put dot here, it will give you all the control event options you have here. In our case, we are interested in value changed. So if you start typing it, value changed, every time a value on the spinner changes, we want this handle picker to be called. Right now it will give us an error because this function doesn't exist. So let's just do the rest and then we will get back to it. Then I'm going to say date picker, actually no, date of birth text field dot input view is equals to date picker. And what this says is by default, if you select any text field, the keyboard will appear. And here we are saying, listen, we don't want a keyword for this view. Instead, the input view is going to be a date picker. So we will now receive this spinner date picker. Then another thing we are going to add to our date picker is a toolbar. Let me just show you here. By the way, I tested this date picker thing on iOS 14 and it doesn't work. You can see the toolbar appears here. We have cancel and done, but the date picker itself, it doesn't show. But if you switch it to an Xcode 11, which is the proper version right now, not the beta 12, and if you run the same code, it's gonna show you the date picker. I'm going to show you later how it looks, but again, just trust me, in the beta version of Xcode 12.0, this thing doesn't work. The function of the toolbar works, but the date picker itself is not presented to the user. So let's create this toolbar, which gonna be on top of the date picker. We have cancel and done buttons on it. So let's create let toolbar equals to UI toolbar. We initialize one, and then we say toolbar dot bar style equals dot default. Say toolbar dot tint color is equals to UI color dot UI color primary. We are going to write this. Actually, we don't have this UI color yet, so let me just put one more thing here. Toolbar dot is translucent, and we want to set the translucent to be true. And then we set the color, and we are going to set this. Let me just put UI color dot white. And we're going to change this. And finally, we need to tell our toolbar to size to fit, which resize everything to enclose the sub view. Let's say, depending on the screen size, we want to put everything on a screen size. So it's a size that fit. So we have our toolbar ready. Now we need to add these two buttons here, a cancel and a done button. So let's create this, say let cancel button is equals to UI bar button item. And we're going to get one with a title. We don't need an image. We need title, style, target, action. The title is going to be cancel. Style is going to be dot plain. Target is going to be self. And action is going to be again the function that we want to be called whenever somebody touches this button. So we say selector, and then I'm going to say dismiss keyboard. So whenever a user clicks on this cancel, we have this function dismiss keyboard, and we want to call that. And instead here, I'm going to say add obj C. Now this should get rid of an error here. And yeah, this error is still here because we haven't provided this function yet. Now let's create another function, another button, sorry, and this is gonna be our done button, which is the one here. So let done button is equals, and let me just copy this thing here, and instead of cancel we say done as a title. Style is going to be plain again, target gonna be self, action action is going to be done clicked. This is a function again we are going to write, because right now we don't have this function and it gives us an error. So now we have a toolbar, we have two buttons, and we want to position these buttons inside our toolbar. So let's say toolbar.set items, and we are going to set every item for our toolbar. And as you can see, this function takes items, which is an array of bar button items, and then animated, we just say true or false, which we want true. Let's make it animated. And the items that we want to put in our toolbar is the cancel button and a done button. So if I hit enter on this, instead of UI bar button item, which these two buttons are UI bar button items, we say cancel button, comma, done button. And now if I say toolbar dot is user interaction enabled, yes, we want to enable the user interaction, and we set it to true. And the last thing we need to do in order to present this toolbar, we say date picker date of birth text field dot input accessory view is gonna be equals to our toolbar. So let's also create these two functions, and then we can test if this is working. So let's put this under our helpers. So we have this dismiss keyboard. Underneath, I'm going to say add obj C func and handle date picker, and also add obj C func, or is it done button clicked? All right, so now technically the error should disappear and we should be able to run it. Let me just see, auto layout is commented out. Go to setup. You can see now the toolbar appears. Of course, the spinner doesn't appear. But we have one issue with our normal toolbar that you have seen for the radio application. You can see here is the cancel and the done on the other side. And the reason this is happening is because we took an array of items and put it inside of our toolbar, which is right here. And it just starts from left and goes to the right. So it puts a first item and the second item. And in order to push these two buttons, separate one in each corner, there is something handy called this spacer, flexible spacer. So what we can do is put a spacer in between the two buttons, and it will push the button left and the other button right all the way as possible. So let's create this spacer. Say let space button, which is just a spacer, equals UI bar button item, and this one is going to be bar button item target action. The bar button item is gonna be dot, and then we can choose this flexible space, which is not fixed, it's flexible, and it pushes everything left and right maximum possible, so depending on the screen size. Target is going to be nil because there is no action on it, and the action is also going to be nil. This is just a spacer, it takes everything and pushes left and right. So once we have this spacer, I just position it in between these two buttons so it even makes more sense when you read the code. So we have cancel spacer and done button, and here in the array you put a spacer in between the two, and this should make the magic happen. So let's rerun the code. Go to sign up, get the date of birth. You can see the cancel and the done push it all the way left and all the way right. Now let's fix the issue with this primary color. So this is something we are going to create, and for this I'm going to, in my helpers, going to create a new Swift file, call this extensions, and I'm going to create an extension to UI color class. And to do this, first we need to import UI kit, because UI color is part of UI kit. So extension to UI color, I'm going to just write it as an extension because I don't want to say like where are we, register and the color here. Otherwise I would like to say let's UI color, then we would have to initialize it with we have different options here like hue, saturation, brightness, or RGBA, etc. So we want to have this default primary color of our application, so I'm going to use that one here, and instead says we're going to declare it here, and then we can call it every time we want. So I'm going to say func primary, which is a function, and it needs to return a UI color, and we're going to just say return UI color, and we're going to use RGBA. So let's choose red, green, blue, and alpha, and the red is going to be 255 divided 255 divided to 255. And the reason I'm doing this because our UI color here accepts number between 0 and 1. You cannot come here and say 255. So by dividing this, we set it to 1, because the UI color I have is like, if you open the Photoshop and get a color, this is based on not zeros until 1, but zeros to 255, which is the maximum value of each number. And then the green gonna be 45 divided 255. The blue gonna be 85 divided by 255. Alpha is gonna be 1, which is the same thing if I write like 255 divided by 255. So this is like 100% our alpha. So since we are here, let's write to one more thing. It's gonna be tab bar selected item color. So say func tab bar unselected, and this is also gonna return UI color. And I want to return, let's just copy this and we can quickly change the numbers. So this is gonna be 255 divided by 255, then we have 216 divided by 255, and the blue 223 divided to 55. These are the two colors I want to create. And now getting back to our code here, I can say UI color, and we to initialize it, then we say primary color. And if I open, you can see the color currently how it is, our tint color here. And then if I run now, we are going to see the difference. Oh, let's see when we have red color. Extensions.